Virgo, listen closely. October 3rd, 2025 is not just another date written on a calendar. It's not a routine Tuesday. It is a cosmic checkpoint, one that could feel like the hardest test of your life. On this day, something rare and heavy happens above you. Saturn, the strict teacher of karma, the planet that never gives rewards without lessons, locks hands with the moon, the keeper of your deepest emotions. When Saturn meets the moon, it's not gentle. It's like fire meeting water, discipline crashing into feeling, reality colliding with vulnerability. And Virgo, for you, this means 8 painful soul tests, 8 trials that could either break you down to your knees or unlock the miracle you've been secretly praying for. If you ignore them, if you stumble through unaware, you risk falling into cycles of regret, heartbreak, and suffocating emotional storms. You could feel trapped, like life is repeating the same pain over and over. You could lose opportunities that won't come back for years. Saturn does not play games. But here's the promise. If you see these tests for what they are, if you pass them with awareness, courage, and discipline, then this conjunction could turn into the most powerful doorway you've walked through in years. A doorway leading to freedom, to healing, to a kind of destiny shift that changes everything about the way you see your life. This day holds danger, but also miracle. It is the razor's edge between loss and breakthrough. And Virgo, you know deep in your soul that you've been preparing for this moment. You've carried so much weight on your shoulders, responsibilities, unspoken expectations, wounds from the past that you never let fully heal. Saturn knows this. That's why the tests coming on October 3rd aren't punishments. They are preparations. They are meant to strip away illusions, to force you into truth, and to show you just how powerful you can be when you refuse to break. The universe has circled this date for you long before you were even born. And now, as the moon lowers its emotional tide and Saturn raises its karmic hand, you are being asked one question. Will you rise or will you collapse? These 8 soul tests are not random. They are precise. They will appear in the form of silence, shadows of your past, sudden loneliness, unexpected delays, temptations of control, and moments where your faith is pushed to its breaking point. And while they will hurt, each one hides a secret key. Each one, if passed, unlocks a miracle. So understand this. October 3rd is not about fear. It's about preparation. It's about knowing what's coming so you don't fall into the trap. It's about being ready for the storm so you can claim the treasure it leaves behind. Virgo, your soul is being tested. And if you pass, the miracle waiting on the other side will rewrite your destiny forever. The very first soul test, Virgo, is the test of silence. And it begins when someone around you, someone you trust, someone whose voice usually reassures you, suddenly goes quiet. They stop returning your calls. They leave your messages on read. They shut you out without explanation. Your natural instinct will scream at you to chase them, to demand clarity, to ask, "What did I do wrong?" or "Why are you pulling away?" Your mind will want to fill the silence with overthinking, apologies, or explanations. But Saturn, the strict teacher of karma, is not testing them. Saturn is testing you. Because in this silence, your fears get louder. The echoes of rejection, abandonment, and unworthiness will rise. You'll hear the old voices. You're not good enough. You'll always be left. No one stays. And that, Virgo, is the real battlefield. The silence itself isn't punishment. It's a mirror. It forces you to sit with yourself without outside validation, without someone else's comfort, without distraction. The silence asks, can you stand strong without constant reassurance? Can you believe in your worth even when no one else is speaking it to you? If you chase after them, you fail the test. If you break down and let silence define you, you give away your power. But if you sit in it, breathe through it, and remind yourself, their silence doesn't erase my voice. Their absence doesn't erase my value. That's when you pass. Passing this test proves something life-changing, that your identity is not dependent on who stays or who leaves. It proves that you can stand on your own, even in the quiet, even in the loneliness. And Virgo, when you pass this test, something magical happens. The silence no longer feels like rejection. It becomes a space where truth reveals itself. Sometimes the truth is that the person was never meant to stay. Other times, it's that they return once they realize they can't shake your strength. But here's the twist. This silence isn't about them at all. It never was. It's about what you say to yourself in the quiet. Do you tell yourself the story of abandonment? Or do you write a new story that you are unshakable, worthy, and whole, no matter who disappears? Virgo, the silence test will hurt, but if you pass it, you'll never fear being left again, because you'll know that even in silence, you are never truly alone. The second soul test, Virgo, is the shadow of the past. On or around October 3rd, don't be surprised if the past comes knocking at your door. It could be a person, a former lover, a friend who betrayed you, or even a family member you've distanced yourself from. It could be a memory, something you thought was long buried, rising to the surface like a ghost that refuses to stay in its grave. Or it could be a regret, a choice you made years ago that suddenly feels alive again, whispering, "What if?" At first you may think this is random, but it's not. Saturn never works randomly. This is deliberate. Saturn is forcing you to face the very shadows you've avoided because they hold the keys to your growth. The test here is not to relive the pain, not to get sucked back into the same cycle, not to wear the chains of shame once again. The test is to face the ghost, look it straight in the eyes, and forgive yourself. Virgo, you are often harder on yourself than anyone else could ever be. You replay mistakes in your mind, you hold yourself responsible for failures that weren't even fully yours, and you carry guilt that does not belong to you. But this shadow test is about releasing that weight, because if you fall into shame, Saturn wins. Shame locks you in a prison where you repeat the same story over and over. But if you choose forgiveness, if you say, "Yes, I did that. Yes, I went through that. But I no longer punish myself for it," you reclaim your power. Forgiveness doesn't mean you excuse the past. It doesn't mean you allow old toxic people back into your life. Forgiveness means you no longer allow the past to control you. It means the ghost finally stops haunting you because you no longer feed it with energy. And here's where Saturn gets clever. Here's the twist. This ghost from the past won't just come back as a memory. It will disguise itself as an opportunity. An old flame may suddenly reach out and say, "I've changed. Give me one more chance." A past mistake might resurface as a tempting shortcut, offering you a way forward that feels easy but dangerous. The question is, will you take the bait? Or will you recognize that some doors are closed for a reason? Passing this test means choosing freedom over familiarity. It means saying no to the cycle, no to the shame, and no to the illusion that the past has anything left for you. When you pass, something powerful happens. The grip of the past dissolves. You no longer look backward with pain. You look forward with clarity. The ghost fades, the weight lifts, and your soul finally breathes again. Virgo, the shadow of the past is one of the hardest tests because it disguises itself as comfort. But if you see it clearly, if you choose forgiveness and release, you step into October 3rd with a power that no shadow can touch. The third soul test, Virgo, is the temptation of control. If there's one thing about you, it's that you crave order. You want the puzzle pieces lined up, the schedule clear, the outcome predictable. You thrive when things make sense, when every detail is in its place. But on October 3rd, Saturn is about to pull the rug from under that structure. Don't be surprised if something in your life spirals, plans collapse, schedules shift, people cancel at the last minute, or unexpected chaos storms through your carefully organized world. It could be finances, family, work, or even your own emotions. Suddenly, nothing feels steady. And that's when the temptation hits. The urge to grab control, to force everything back into order, to micromanage every detail. But here's the brutal truth. This is Saturn's test. Can you resist the urge to control what cannot be controlled? Can you surrender without panic? Because Virgo, control feels like safety, but in reality, it's just an illusion. The more you clench your fists, the more life slips through your hands. This test is about releasing that illusion. It's about trusting that even when things look messy, they're not falling apart. They're falling into place. It's not easy. Your mind will scream, "Fix this now, hold it together, make it perfect." But perfection is not the goal here. Faith is. Saturn wants you to learn that sometimes the miracle only arrives when you stop clenching so tightly. Think of it like holding sand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. But when you open your hand, the sand settles naturally. That's what this test is teaching you. But here's the twist. What looks like chaos is not punishment. It's Saturn rearranging the pieces of your life in your favor. What seems broken is actually being rebuilt stronger. What feels like loss is actually making space for alignment. When you pass this test, when you breathe, release and trust, you unlock a shift in your destiny. You stop fighting the current and let it carry you where you're meant to be. Virgo, the temptation of control is brutal, but if you master it, you'll realize you never needed control. You only needed faith. The fourth soul test, Virgo, is the mirror test. On October 3rd, someone in your life will suddenly reflect back to you the very things you try hardest to hide. It might be a co-worker, a partner, a friend, or even a stranger. They'll say something, do something, or behave in a way that instantly triggers you. You'll feel irritation, frustration, maybe even anger bubbling to the surface. Here's the truth. What they're showing you isn't really about them. It's about you. They are acting as a mirror, reflecting your own insecurities, flaws, and secret self-criticisms. The very traits you condemn in others are often the same ones you haven't yet forgiven in yourself. That's the test. Can you look into this uncomfortable mirror without judgment? Can you resist the urge to lash out, criticize, or push them away? Saturn is asking you to see the deeper lesson, to recognize yourself in the reflection and respond with compassion instead of projection. Because when you project, Virgo, you repeat the cycle. You push blame outward instead of healing inward. You keep chasing the problem in others, never realizing the real work is inside you. But if you pass this test, if you can soften, if you can say, what I dislike in them is really just a part of me still asking for healing, you break that cycle. And here's the thing, this isn't about weakness, it's about power. Compassion is not letting others off the hook, it's reclaiming your energy from judgment so you can direct it toward growth. It's saying, I see the shadow, but I will no longer let it control me. But here's the twist, the harsher they trigger you, the closer you are to your breakthrough. The more intense the reaction, the clearer the sign that this is the exact shadow blocking your path to freedom. What feels like an enemy is actually a signpost pointing you to the deepest level of healing. So instead of asking, why are they doing this to me? Ask, what is this teaching me about myself? That shift alone can dissolve years of inner battles. Virgo, when you pass the mirror test, you no longer fear other people's reflections. You no longer get lost in their shadows. You rise above judgment, step out of projection, and finally reclaim your peace. The fifth soul test, Virgo, is one of the hardest, and it's called the loneliness gate. Around October 3rd, you may suddenly feel isolated. People you expected to show up for you may not. Friends might seem distant, family may not understand your struggles, and even the ones you've always leaned on could pull away without explanation. It can feel cruel, like the universe has abandoned you at the exact moment you need support the most. This is not a punishment. This is Saturn's deliberate test. Saturn is asking, can you find comfort in your own soul instead of rushing to fill the void? Most people run from loneliness. They numb it with distractions, toxic connections, endless scrolling, or staying busy just to avoid sitting with themselves. But Saturn is stripping away those crutches for you, Virgo, so you can learn that true strength is born in solitude. Because when everything goes quiet, when the world seems to step back, you are left with only one voice, your own. And here's the question: will that voice be your enemy, or will it become your greatest ally? This test will challenge you to stop seeking validation outside and start building it within, to discover that you don't need constant reassurance to know your worth, to realize that even when no one else claps for you, you can clap for yourself. Passing this test means embracing solitude not as emptiness, but as sacred space. Space where you reconnect with your intuition, where you rediscover your passions, where you learn to trust yourself again. Loneliness becomes less of a prison and more of a temple, a place where transformation happens. But here's the twist. Once you survive this loneliness, once you prove you can stand on your own, the right people suddenly rush back into your life. It's as if the universe was simply waiting for you to release your dependence on the wrong ones before delivering the right ones. The friendships that return will be deeper. The love that arrives will be purer. The connections that remain will be stronger than ever. Virgo, the loneliness gate is painful, yes. It will make you question who truly belongs in your life. But if you can walk through it with courage, you'll never again fear being left behind, because you'll know you always have yourself, and that's enough. The sixth soul test, Virgo, is the choice between pride and peace. On or around October 3rd, you may face a confrontation. It could be subtle, a cutting remark, an unfair judgment, a disrespectful tone, or it could be loud, like an argument you never saw coming. Someone will push your buttons, challenge your integrity, or try to drag you into a power struggle. And here's where the test begins. Your natural instinct will be to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to argue until your point is heard and validated. Pride will whisper, don't let them get away with this. Show them you're right. Win this battle. But Saturn, the teacher of karma, is watching to see if you'll make a different choice. The test isn't about winning the argument, it's about choosing your dignity over your pride. Because pride says, I must win at all costs. But peace says, I don't need to fight for validation, I already know my worth. Walking away doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean you let someone disrespect you. It means you refuse to lower yourself into a battlefield that doesn't deserve your energy. It means you understand that not every fight is worth fighting, and not every opponent deserves your time. Passing this test requires restraint. It requires the strength to take a deep breath, look your challenger in the eye, and choose silence instead of shouting, grace instead of bitterness. In that moment, you don't lose power, you rise above it. You hold on to your dignity while the other person reveals their own lack of control. But here's the twist. The one who seems like your enemy may actually be the messenger of your freedom. Their challenge, as painful as it feels, is meant to sharpen you, to teach you where your triggers are, and to reveal how much control you truly have over yourself. Sometimes the enemy is simply a mirror forcing you to grow. When you pass this test, you discover that true victory isn't improving someone else wrong. It's improving to yourself that your peace cannot be stolen. And once you learn that, Virgo, you carry an unshakable calm that no confrontation can destroy. Virgo, the 7th test is one of the hardest, the door of delay. On or around October 3rd, don't be surprised if plans fall apart, if something you were counting on doesn't come through, or if progress suddenly feels like it's frozen in place. A meeting might get cancelled. A payment may not arrive when expected. Opportunities that seemed certain could be pushed into the future. And in that moment, frustration will rise. You may feel like the universe has forgotten you, like you're being punished, like nothing ever goes smoothly for you. The temptation is to spiral into negativity. Why me? Why now? Why does it always take so long? But here's the truth. Saturn wants you to grasp. Delay is not denial. Delay is divine protection. It is the universe's way of rearranging the chessboard so that when your moment comes, everything is aligned perfectly. Think about it. How many times in your past did something take longer than you wanted, only for you to look back and realize it was worth the wait? How many times did a delay save you from heartbreak, from loss, from making a move too soon? The door of delay is not meant to torture you. It's meant to teach you patience, trust, and surrender. Because miracles have their own timing, and Saturn knows that if something comes before you're ready, or before conditions are perfect, it can turn into a burden instead of a blessing. The real danger here is not the delay itself, but your reaction to it. If you allow frustration, anger, and hopelessness to consume you, you close your energy, and the blessing that was on its way may take even longer. But if you stay calm, if you remind yourself that nothing can block what is meant for you, you pass this test with flying colours. The gift hidden behind the door of delay is patience. And patience is not passive, it is power. It is the ability to keep your energy strong, your vision clear, and your faith unshakable, even when the external world seems to say, "Not yet." But here's the twist. The delay is actually proof that your miracle is on its way. Yes, Virgo, if things are slowing down, it's because the universe is carefully aligning people, circumstances, and opportunities in the background. What feels like a pause is actually acceleration on a higher level. It means your blessing is too big to be rushed. It means that something extraordinary is being put in place, something that must arrive in perfect timing, not a second too soon, not a second too late. So when doors don't open immediately, don't curse the delay, celebrate it. It is the universe's secret way of telling you, your miracle is real. It's already yours. I'm just making sure it arrives in its fullest power, Virgo, if you can pass this test. If you can master patience without losing faith, you won't just walk through the door of delay. You'll step into a destiny that was worth every second of waiting. Virgo, the 8th and final soul test is the hardest of them all, the test of faith. By this point, you may already feel drained. Saturn's weight will feel heavy on your shoulders, and the moon will stir your emotions into doubt and fear. You may look at your life and see nothing but obstacles, silence, and delays. And in that darkness, the whisper of surrender will creep in. You'll think to yourself, maybe it's easier to give up. Maybe the universe isn't listening. Maybe my miracle was never meant for me. This is the exact moment Saturn has been preparing you for. Because true faith is not tested when everything is shining, easy and flowing. Faith is tested in the valley when every outer sign says, it's over. But your inner voice dares to say, it's not. The test is this. Will you cling to despair, or will you stand tall with unshakable faith even when nothing makes sense? Will you believe in the invisible, trust the unseen and hold on to your vision even when reality looks like the opposite. If you fail, you sink into fear. But if you pass, Virgo, you unlock the highest door, the miracle that changes everything. Because the universe is not watching what you do when it's easy. The universe is watching what you do when it's impossible. But here's the twist. The miracle won't come while you're begging for it. It comes the second you act as if it's already yours. That's the secret. Faith is not just waiting, it's walking like the blessing has already landed. It's speaking with confidence, choosing joy before the evidence, and stepping forward even when you can't yet see the staircase. The universe doesn't respond to desperation, it responds to certainty. And when you carry yourself as though the miracle is already written into your destiny, that's when Saturn bows. That's when the moon shifts. That's when the doors swing wide open. Virgo, the test of faith is your final gateway. If you can believe when everything tries to break you, then October 3rd won't just be another date. It will be the moment your faith calls the miracle into reality. So Virgo, October 3rd, 2025 is not just another day. It's not simply a date on the calendar to pass by unnoticed. This is the day when Saturn, the strict teacher of karma, joins forces with the moon, the keeper of your emotions, to test your soul in ways you may have never imagined. You've walked with me through 8 painful soul tests: the silence test, the shadow of the past, the temptation of control, the mirror test, the loneliness gate, the choice between pride and peace, the door of delay, and finally, the test of faith. Each one has been intense. Each one has been designed to push you to your limits. And yes, they will hurt. That's the point. Pain is the universe's way of clearing the old and preparing space for the new. But here's the truth, Virgo. These tests are not punishments. They are secret doorways, hidden gateways that, when passed, lead straight to your miracle. They are the universe's way of stripping away what no longer serves you, showing you what truly matters, and teaching you that your strength, resilience, and faith are far greater than you've ever realized. October 3rd is not about breaking you. It's about remaking you. It's about showing you that every silence you endure, every shadow you face, every delay you tolerate, and every moment of loneliness you survive is shaping you into a stronger, wiser, and more aligned version of yourself. Now, Virgo, I want to ask you something. Which of these tests are you feeling most in your life right now? Is it the crushing silence that's forcing you to confront your own inner voice? Is it the delay that's testing your patience and faith? Or is it the ghost from your past trying to disguise itself as an opportunity? I want you to pause for a moment, look inside, and honestly answer. Drop your answer in the comments below. I'll be reading each one. This is a conversation, a way to connect, and a way to remind you that even in the hardest moments, you are not alone. Remember this, Virgo. Your pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Your trials are your training ground, and your miracle is waiting just on the other side of these tests. Pass them, stand strong, believe in yourself, and when you do, you will step into October 3rd, not as a victim of the cosmos, but as a victor of your own destiny. The choice is yours. Rise, Virgo. Your miracle is ready.